Hello everyone and welcome to WhatCulture Gaming, the first news video of 2020. Happy New Year, Scott! Happy New Year, anyone! And I couldn't think of a better way to start the decade than, a bunch of Final Fantasy VII leaks, because Scott, more or less, even though I'm doing the hosting duties for this video, I've practically been kidnapped and I'm a hostage in this situation because Scott is going to tell me everything about this leak which showed up on the PlayStation Store, so it seems very much official. Scott, why is this exciting?
Well,
tell me everything about it.
There are many things. So there's a demo that's been leaked, there's a whole bunch of screenshots that have leaked, but the thing is with this, I'm just going to say this up front, usually with leaks we sort of cover stuff ahead of time and we always go, oh god, we're going to make a video and we're going to talk about it and then it's going to come true and it's going to invalidate the video. I hope that this invalidates the video. I want this demo right now.
Tell me why though.
Well, because it's fully formed. So the demo that they've been showing off for the last couple of years was the remake of the original, of the opening of Final Fantasy VII. It's called the Bombing Run, because Josh hasn't played Final Fantasy VII.
Don't know what that means.
He doesn't know what that means. It's a whole thing. And so, they've been showing that off for the last couple of years, which is just the whole bit where Cloud and the rest of the company go into this big reactor and they blow it up and it's like, oh my god, you guys are terrorists and whatever. It's a big deal. And that's what they've been showing to sort of show off how much rendering work they've done on the character models, the environments and everything else. It seems like that's the thing that we're going to get. In fact, I know that's the thing we're going to get because that's what's leaked. Because thanks to a upload on the PlayStation Store, it seems like they just need to push a button and put it out.
Yeah, I mean, when something leaks in the PlayStation Store, it essentially just means it's ready to go. Like you said, everything's fully formed, all of the I's have been dotted and the T's have been crossed and it's waiting there, we just can't have it.
Yeah, so I had a bit of a look on YouTube and people that have already realized that they can data mine it or whatever hackers do to get on it. So it is the Bombing Run mission, which is the one that they've led all the marketing materials with for the last couple of years. So it is worth mentioning that in terms of there will be a demo ASAP, if not live right now when this video goes up. And in fact, it begins at the beginning of the very beginning of the game, goes until the end of the explosion of the reactor. I'm talking around stuff.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Some things. But something else that came alongside that was a whole bunch of leaked screenshots which show like different events throughout the rest of the game. And one of the biggest things that people were talking about with Final Fantasy VII is that obviously it's a ginormous game.
Yes.
So they've shown that actually they are rendering a bunch of cutscenes like throughout the rest of the game. So it seems like they are planning the whole thing. Because I know that like assumedly they were always going to. But one of the leaked screenshots from the data mine shows literally the final cutscene.
Right.
So they are actually planning every single thing out.
That's cool, because what I worried was that you would get the first episode and then like all hands were on deck for that and the rest of it hasn't really been planned out or etched out, but if you've got the cutscenes more or less locked in, that's really encouraging and hopefully it means episode 2 will be sooner rather than later.
Well, they haven't said like whether it's going to be episodic or if it's like part 1, part 2. It's coming in some form. We know that it's starting out as a PlayStation exclusive and then it might go to different platforms after. But yeah, one of the screenshots shows like there's a variety of different things, which will mean stuff to Final Fantasy fans. They've confirmed that there's a screenshot of Wutai, which is a place that you go to near the end of the game. They showed the Golden Saucer, I know the Golden Saucer is like a big old theme park full of like VR stuff.
No, I have heard about this. I'm pleading ignorance, but Benjamin has taught me pretty much everything there is to know about Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, so the Golden Saucer is a big deal. It's a place that you go to after by the time you get out of Midgar, you go to this big old theme park called the Golden Saucer, and one of these screenshots shows one of the zones. There's like 5 zones that make up the Golden Saucer, and one of the screenshots looks a lot like one of the zones in the Golden Saucer.
Cool.
And they then show Cloud with what looks like VR goggles on, which the whole point of the Golden Saucer is that it's this theme park filled with loads of different mini games, and one of them, well, a bunch of them are like different simulations or VR stuff, and I assume that is from a cutscene because loads of these leaked screenshots aren't fully rendered yet.
Right.
So it's like loads of different stuff. Just shows like it is from the rest of the game, but obviously at this point we're still months away from, or maybe even years from the other half of the game.
Yeah, definitely.
Or whatever it's going to be, because the way that they're releasing it, Midgar is only the opening. Like that is, I don't know, 1/15 of the whole game.
But man, I was watching the side-by-side comparison of the opening intro of the original game and the opening intro of this new game. When they pulled back from Midgar, I couldn't believe how big it was in comparison.
I know.
Like, the fact that it just kept zooming out and zooming out and zooming out, and that got me as someone who has known the legacy of this game and has understood, like, people have been talking to me about it for so long. When that was zooming out, it was just like a whole world of possibilities happening, and that's just the first sort of slice of the whole experience.
So, that's the thing though, like all of that is Midgar, but you only really go to like a few sections of it, but I'm still curious how much that takes up in terms of game time.
Yes,
but
I wonder whether because they weren't about like kind of expanding things. I know they're introducing like more boss battles and stuff like that. Will they expand it to the point where it's practically, its own game?
Well, and speaking of boss battles, just quickly, another screenshot shows a still unrendered but very much new boss. There's like this weird sort of, he looks like this weird white string man, like a sort of roided up Michelin man, UK reference. But he seems like some new boss, and that lines up with leaks from a couple of years ago where Square said they were going to go back to things that they didn't use in the original and put them back in.
That's cool.
So one of them is a new summon. Apparently it's Fenrir, which is the wolf, which is the reason why Cloud has a wolf on his pendant, was apparently because that came from the idea that Cloud could summon a wolf back in the day, but it never made it to the final game. That's not the one that the screenshot is of, but it points to the reality that those leaks were true, that they are reusing stuff from 1996 and 1997. But yeah, there's a big old tree man, and that seems kind of cool.
Kind of cool.
I like the
here for
idea
this.
of them going back to old stuff.
I like that like the taking concepts that they couldn't perhaps realize on, whether for time, money, or the limited tech of the PS1, and now they're kind of, doing the not definitive version of Final Fantasy VII, because I can't say that having not played it, but at least trying to realize ideas that were already there. And when it is like new stuff that's being added, it is, it's stuff that isn't just being thought of because they'll think it'll sell now. It seems like it's very intrinsically tied to the DNA of the original title. At least I hope so.
I tell you what, it reminds me a lot of what people who was it Vicarious Visions who did the Crash trilogy?
That's very true. Yes,
yes, and they went back to the unused levels that Naughty Dog originally had and said, here's some new levels, quote unquote, but it kind of came from the spirit of the originals. A lot of the original team that worked on Final Fantasy VII are back for this, which is kind of cool. But in terms of other major changes confirmed by the leaked screenshots and the demo, Sephiroth is threaded throughout the opening of the game way more. Now, if you know the whole story, I'm not going to do spoilers, but if you know the whole story for Final Fantasy VII, Sephiroth has one hell of a tie to Cloud, not a Darth Vader father situation, something even cooler. But the whole thing with that, they sort of dole him out, they sort of pepper him throughout the opening of the story, and then the second half in the original, it's like, oh my god, he was this was a big deal, yada yada yada. I think that they're getting to that better. I think they're reframing and repacing the whole story, because in one of the trailers from last year, 2019, they showed Sephiroth on the streets of Midgar, like inside Cloud's mind a lot more.
I remember you telling me about this.
Yeah, and even that was like a big deal. And one of the screenshots now shows him on the highway at the end after the Shinra Tower, again showing that like they're sort of peppering him throughout the story. Like he seems to be dogging Cloud's mind a lot more.
I suppose that makes more sense if you are doing either part 1 or part 2 or making it more episodic. You need to have those threads woven from the beginning, so it doesn't just feel like two distinct halves. If that would like connect it in a bit more cohesive way, I'd say.
I do wonder as well if because like I said, they're sketching out the rest of these cutscenes. They have these different things from sort of late game areas, and they have this thing for the final cutscene. I wonder if they're reframing Midgar to be the vast majority of the game, and they seed Sephiroth throughout that, so that by the time you leave Midgar, you kind of only read, because the pacing of the game's weird. By the time that you leave Midgar in the original, you need to get to a certain point, you're just chasing Sephiroth. But I wonder if they've reframed the narrative so that Midgar takes up the vast majority of it. You cover Sephiroth's role, the reason you need to track him down, and you leave Midgar to find him, and that's maybe the back third or the second half entirely.
I don't know.
I'm
excited about that.
But I think that would make more sense narratively, because if you go back to the original, which I did over Christmas, there's a big lag, there's a big reason, like, because I was playing it with my wife, and she was like, why are we still out in the middle of nowhere chasing this person? And I was like, shut up, man, he's got long hair, it's cool. Because that's all you need for Sephiroth. So that's another thing. Now, then one of the biggest things, which could have been handled so much worse, is the Cloud cross-dressing scene. Now, obviously, we haven't seen the entirety of that yet, but some of the leaked screenshots do show Cloud in a dress, which, as a iconic scene, it's kind of been bandied back and forth as to how they were going to handle it. And like I said, the whole cutscene isn't out there yet, but it just seems like at least going with that scene, they're still in the midst of rendering it at the minute, but at least seeing it, Cloud looks awesome. Yeah. So it's like, it looks really, really cool. He doesn't seem it doesn't seem over the top. It doesn't seem like it's played for laughs. It does seem like they have gone back to the source material and done it the utmost justice. So if you were looking forward to that scene, I think it looks pretty great. And I hope that they retain the ability to customize your dress. Right. They had that in the original one. You could pick different colors. The one that's in the leaked screenshots is black. I want a blue one. So I'm just saying.
Hopefully you'll get your blue one.
I want a ribbon. I want a blue one with a ribbon. So that's what I want. Also, a tiny character called Johnny who appeared in this area called Costa del Sol. He was someone from Cloud's childhood who, like, blink and you'll miss him, basically. He's now rendered and, like, fully rendered, and he's in some of the screenshots, which points to the fact that they're doing way more with Cloud's childhood. I know this means nothing.
No, I'm interested.
Cool. It's a cool thing.
Because as someone who hasn't obviously played it,
yes.
I've heard about it. I've heard about these characters and these places and this legacy, and the fact that this seems sort of like not deeper, but perhaps more expanded upon. Like the story is what I'm really interested in, and the fact that everything kind of seems just sort of polished off and more interconnected and more cohesive. That's exciting to me.
Well, yeah, stuff like I said, like Cloud's childhood and like how Sephiroth fits into that and the relationship that they have. That is the core of Final Fantasy VII. Once if you really meet the whole thing thing out, like all 40 hours of it, and you go, okay, like where did we go? Where did we end up? What are the major plot beats? There's a way to crunch that together, and I wonder, like I said, if they're doing more with Sephiroth initially and threading him throughout, and then doing stuff with characters like Johnny who know Cloud from his childhood, and you can kind of just make it a way more focused narrative about the evolution of Cloud and who he, because the whole thing with him is that he doesn't really know who he is, and you find out more about him as it goes on. I think there's a way to make that, to give it way more narrative thrust than it has in the original. So I look forward to that. Lastly was just that it shows a bunch of character renders. So if you wanted to see, I've got them all written down. If you wanted to see what Red 13 looks like, Hojo, Scarlet, Palmer, Rufus, and Reeve, all of them are now in the game.
I like how much, we were saying before we started filming that Scott, like when it came to sort of Aerith and stuff, this was
so
how you
man.
Pictured her back in the day.
Yes.
But you look back at it now, it's just a bunch of sharp polygons. But in your head when you were a kid, or even if you were a grown up, you have an image of it that embellished on those details and filled in the blanks, as it were. And I always feel like when it comes to remakes like this, or whether it's the Crash Insane trilogy, they always manage to look like how you thought they initially looked like, and that's so awesome.
Yeah, that's kind of like one of the unspoken things that a remake needs to do is live up to that mind's eye nostalgia version that we have of these characters. Because loads of people go back to something like Final Fantasy VII if they're not equipped to, remember how polygonal that thing was. It is blocky as hell. I love it, but it's blocky as hell. And a lot of people remember that. It's like, oh my god, it was the game of my childhood. And they go back and go, oh sweet Jesus, it's literally 3 polygons making up each character model. So I think in this regard, someone like Aerith, all the different character models look great. Hojo looks menacing as hell, which like he's kind of like a comedic character in the original, even though his role in the story is menacing and horrible and disgusting. And I like that the way that they've made his face all jarred and scarred up. I'm like, that dude looks evil as hell, and I kind of want to take him out. Red 13, talking dog, looks like a badass as well.
That's all I need.
That's all I need.
Dog. Why did we start this video with talking dog?
Well, because I think between now and March 3rd, you should go play Final Fantasy VII and experience the talking dog.
I don't know if I'm going to do that, but like the game is out in March, and the demo seems like it's going to drop imminently. These are all the leaked details from the screenshots. Hopefully we've had some lovely visuals around, and even if we haven't because it's been taken down, then use your imagination, I guess. But I'll see you guys later. I've been Josh. This has been Scott. Happy New Year. I hope you're looking forward to Final Fantasy VII, and I hope this demo is actually out by the time we finish recording and put it up. But yes, thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.